watching. This is kind of a last minute thing. I want to talk about my recent trip. Let's just kind of fresh my mind. The details might be a little hazy because I'm just doing it from memory. I have posted some things on my channel, on the Right Train channel. Just want to kind of recap where I went. Before we get started, I just want to say I'm at New York Penn Station. I'm in a secure waiting area, but you're going to hear some announcements for trains, and there's a little bit of delay today between Boston and Washington for track work, so some of the trains are delayed, and that's why it's a little bit crowded here. And there's about 5 Amtrak trains, 4 Amtrak trains that are about to be boarded. So hopefully we'll get a little more quiet here, but you know, it's live. What can I say? Anyways, I took a trip from October 14th to October 28th. I left New York to London, and I did post a little video. I was fortunate to get upgraded there, and although this isn't a train channel, the first leg of my trip had to be by plane, and I just gave a little review of is it worth it to upgrade or not. Okay, but that was the first part. Then I went from London to Paris on Eurostar. Here we got some announcements, and then from Paris to Rome round trip, and I went 2 different routes. The first one was from Paris to Strasbourg, and then from Strasbourg to Milan, and then Milan to Rome. And on the way back, it was from Rome to Milan, Milan to Torino, Torino to Core, Switzerland, Core to Zurich, Zurich to Paris, and then Paris back to London. Part of the trip was a pilgrimage with some people from my church, which I met up with them in Rome. So that part of the trip for 10 days was pretty easy for me. They had hired a bus. There was no train travel during that period. And, all the hotels and where we stayed were all, prearranged. So I didn't have to do anything. But there was a lot of planning to, I spent 3 nights in London just to kind of get acclimated to the time. And then took the Eurostar to Paris. And I spent overnight in Milan. And then the next day I went Milan to Rome. On the way back, the first day I traveled from Rome to Zurich, 4 different trains, and then from Zurich to Paris to London, and then flew back the next day. So anyways, what I want to talk about on the trip was the Eurostar train through the Channel. That's about 3 hours to Paris. That leaves from St. Pancras, which is one of my favorite train stations in London. I was able to. I arrived at Paddington from Heathrow. There's both subway and express. The express is more expensive, but they both get you there. The express is like 15 minutes, but the subway wasn't that much longer. In Paddington, I did a video of Paddington. It's quite a large station. It was nice. And the next station, it was overnight in London, and I decided to take a day trip to Cambridge, which I highly recommend. I don't know, it's about an hour. I think I was on Express going. It was 45 minutes, maybe an hour coming back, making some local stops. And it was a great trip, and that left from King's Cross Station, another huge station. And then the following day, after going from Cambridge, I went to Paris, and that leaves from the international part of St. Pancras Station. this of the three stations in London, this was my favorite. Of the three that I visited, this was my favorite. Um, Beautiful, a lot of services. Did a video on it. It's a very nice dining places up on the second level where the Eurostar trains leave from. So everything went smoothly. I did a bit of research, and before I go any further, I said if you're going to be planning these trips, and had, I think it was like 8 train segments. Train Trainline.com was a great place. I mean, there is a little bit of a booking fee, but it's negligible considering how convenient it was. Kept all my tickets on my phone. I did print them out beforehand just in case something happened to my phone, and I had all the numbers. But it's very easy to book tickets and to have the tickets at your fingertips, at your phone. So I highly recommend that website, trainline.com, for like European travel. So I book all my tickets except for one. I get to that in a little bit on trainline.com. And so the first part of the trip, the international part from London to Paris, and of course you go through customs in London, both Great Britain and France. That's where they stamp your passport, and they inspect your bags. Your bags will be X-rayed. It's not quite as intense as being at the airport, but they're checking for the usual things, and they recommend getting there an hour ahead of time, which I did, and it was plenty of time. And there's services there to get something to eat. It was crowded. These trains hold, I want to say, about 1,500 people, and pretty much all the seats were booked. I did reserve a seat. I did upgrade on this. Not really. Probably wasn't necessary, but I mean, you do get a little bit more room, and I don't believe it was that much more expensive. So, anyways, that went really smooth. Boarded the train. We left on time, and just want to say every train left on time. So, if you're late, they're going to leave without you. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So, about 3 hours later in Paris, and my next train was, I believe it was Eurocity's train from Paris to Strasbourg, France, and that we arrived at Gare du Nord, and the train to Strasbourg was from Gare de l'Est, and that involved a short subway ride, which was pretty easy. I think it was only one stop. I probably could have walked. I did have a little bit of luggage with me, not bad. But anyways, I wanted to ride the subway, and unlike the London subway, which you don't have to buy tickets in advance or use a ticket machine, you can just take your credit card out, tap the turnstile, and go, just like you do in New York. And now I guess Boston has that. That's a great help to visitors. But in Paris, they don't have that, so I had to stand in line and purchase a ticket. The subway, it was like €2, like $2.34 in US. Here we pay $2.90. So anyways, waited in line for that. It went pretty quickly. There's only one language on their machines. It was just in French. So shout out to my 4th grade French teacher. Thank you for whatever. And so I got my ticket, and you put it in the turnstile, and then you take it back because you needed to exit too. I guess it's a pace how far you go. I wasn't going that far. So it was pretty easy. I forget which line. I think it was, I want to say line 4. I'm not sure, but it's very easy. You can just look it up. Uh, and I believe it was one stop. So the train was pretty crowded, and the platform, the train's not as big as they are here in New York, but you know, got to Gare du Nord. I think I arrived Gare du, Gare du l'Est, the east station, and I had to go to the north station. So I got there, and I've already gone through security, had my passport checked and everything. So it was just basically finding the track, and I had time to spare. I think I did a little tour there, put that up there. Both stations are really wonderful. Access to the platforms is restricted. You have a ticket to get the platform. Everything worked pretty smoothly. No big deal. So I boarded the Eurostar train, the Eurocities train to Strasbourg, and I think that was 2 or 3 hours. And I arrived there, and I think I upgraded, and that might have not have been necessary. But it was fine. It was fine. I'm trying to think if there was one segment where there was no Wi-Fi and there was no power to recharge the phones, and I think that was that segment. But it was very comfortable. Maybe that was the segment that there was only one class, but the seats, it was an older car. Seats were very comfortable. And it was an enjoyable ride. I got to Strasbourg, and I had a little bit of time there, so I was able to walk out of the station and walk down to the main part of the city, which is right down the street from the station, and just toured around for about an hour, and came back to the station and boarded my train for the last segment of the day to Milan, Italy. This was Eurocities train, fast train. This one I did upgrade, and I didn't have my own little compartment, but it was a little compartment with just 4 seats, and there was just one other passenger in it. We were served some beverages and a little bit of a snack, and it was, it left on time, and it arrived Milan on time, and it was dark now. I got to Milan, which is a beautiful station. So far, my favorite was St. Pancras. Milan rivals it, and I would like to go back to Milan station again and explore. But I was pretty impressed with it. We spent the night in Milan, nearby. Try to get the hotels near the station, as arriving at night and not really knowing my way around. So we spent the night in Milan, and the next day I was just going to go Milan to Rome. There's lots of trains going between Milan, Rome. It was actually Milan, Naples via Rome, and that's where I was getting off. And I think it was, I want to say it was 3 to 4 hours to Rome. And when I got to Rome, I took, and this was daytime, and I took the subway, which is right at Termini, both line A and B, kind of cross at Termini, Rome's main train station, which is huge. It's modern. It was built like after the war, and I think it didn't get finished till like the 50s, so it's got that type of architecture. It's got everything there you need. And just sort of, the other stations are like 100 years old. This one's like, 50, 60 years old. So, it's got a little bit different vibe. It's kind of nice in its own way. But not one of my favorites. I kind of like the old school stuff. So I got the subway at in Rome, and again, it was very easy. It's just tap and go. Kind of maze-like there, but I'm used to that here in New York. And just went to Line A towards Batista, and got off at the next last stop at Cornelia, where I was staying for that night before I met the tour group the next day. Was a short walk from the subway. So that was that was my trip, and it took me two
Attention
days.
please. This is a boarding call
Rome
for
to
Amtrak
Milan in one
Northeast
day,
Regional Train
which
99
is a
en
lot of
route to
traveling to
Newport
do in one
News with
day,
intermediate
and then the
stops
next day
at
was pretty
Newark,
easy. It
Metro
was just
Park,
Milan to,
Philadelphia,
I'm sorry,
Wilmington,
London
Baltimore,
to Milan.
BWI Airport, New
The
Carrollton,
first day, which
Washington,
was
Alexandria, Quantico,
one, two, three
Fredericksburg,
trains.
Ashland,
I think that's right.
Williamsburg, Richmond Staples Mill,
And
and Richmond Main Street.
then the next day
Passengers
was
should
easy.
proceed to track
Milan to Rome,
13
just one
west.
train. And
Attention please. Boarding on track 4 is
and there
the
was
New
the
Jersey
one
Transit
subway ride
107 a.m.
also
North
in
Jersey
Paris
Coast
too on that
Line
day.
en
So it was
route
a
to
lot of
Bernina.
traveling. So the
Passengers
day
should
going to
proceed to
Rome was
track
pretty
4
easy.
both east and west gates.
So I spent the first night in Rome, and then I met up the
Attention
group
please.
for day two
Amtrak
in Rome.
Northeast Regional Train
And from there,
164
everything was
from New York
kind of
Penn
taken
Station
care
and
for
continuing to
me. Didn't
Boston
have to
is now
do,
approaching the
any
station.
planning, and
Please stand
just
by
went
for
with the
boarding,
flow.
which will
So
begin
that was really
momentarily.
nice. And I didn't get back on the train again to the end of the trip. It was Sunday morning, and I had an early train out of Rome to Milan. I think like at 7:20. The subway in Rome, it's not like New York where it's 24/7, but it's pretty good. I think the first train was at 5:30 from Cornelia to Termini, and I walk from where the group was staying was also near Cornelia. So in the morning I walked maybe a 20-minute walk, maybe 15 to Cornelia, and it was it was dark. They in Europe they set their clocks back about a week before we do, so it was so we gained an hour that Saturday night, and then Sunday morning I got an early start. I think I was on the first subway train out of Cornelia to Termini, which was at 5:30 in the morning. I do have a video. I'm not sure if I put it up. I got to spend a little bit more time on the channel. Just been busy catching up with everything. So there were passengers on the train, but nobody was standing. Everybody had a seat, and we were pretty well spread
Attention
out.
please. Now
So
boarding
arrived
on
in
track 2
Termini
both
in,
east and west gates is the New
Rome's
Jersey
main
Transit
station, and it's
111
huge.
a.m. Morristown
And
line en route to Dover. Making
I
stops
went
at Secaucus,
to
Newark Broad Street,
get some
East
breakfast
Orange,
there. I
Brick
think I
Church,
actually went to a
Orange,
McDonald's
Highland
there on the
Avenue,
station,
South Orange,
and
Maplewood,
then I
Millburn,
might have went
Short
to
Hills,
Starbucks.
Summit,
I
Chatham,
had I was there a
Madison,
good hour
Concord,
ahead of time, and
Morristown,
since we didn't have to go
Morris
through any
Plains,
security,
Mount
it's
Tabor,
just
and
basically
Denville,
wait for
terminating
your
at Dover.
track to be posted and climb on board. And so we departed right on time and arrived in Milan. I want to say like 3 hours later, like 10 something. And then in Milan, I only had like 20
Attention
minutes.
please.
I
Boarding
would
on
like to have
track
more
2 is
time
the New
to
Jersey
walk
Transit
around, look at the
111 p.m.
station.
Morristown line en route to
And
Dover. Passengers should proceed to track 2 both east and
there's
west
some
gates.
interesting streetcar lines in front of the station. There's one where they have like a little with grass between the rails, which we don't really see that here in the United States. Go up to Boston or Philadelphia, like the streetcar lines, you don't really see grass between the rails. But that was kind of interesting in Milan. But anyways, I had to get on board, and the next leg of the journey was from Milan to Torino, and this was very scenic. It was the most scenic portion of the trip
Attention please. This is a boarding
of all
call
the
for
trains I
Amtrak
took
Northeast Regional Train
up to this point,
164 en route to Boston with
and really enjoyed
intermediate
it.
stops at New
And
Rochelle, Stanford, Bridgeport,
the,
New Haven,
at
Old Saybrook,
Torino,
New London, Mystic, Westerly, Kingston,
I
Providence, Route
I
128,
didn't have a
and
lot of
Boston Back
time.
Bay. Passengers should proceed to track 9 west.
I didn't have a lot of time, but the connections were really smooth. I got on the next train. Oh, actually, I had to leave the station in Torino. And the same block where I exited the station, there's another little smaller station. Um, Literally, you just see it when you come
Attention,
out,
please.
and
This is
it's a
the
short
last
walk.
call
It might
for
have taken me
Amtrak
2-3
Keystone
minutes,
Train
maybe
665
5
en route
minutes.
to Harrisburg
And
with
this is where I
intermediate
got
stops.
the
Passengers should proceed to track 6 west.
Bernina Express.
Attention, please.
And
This
this
is a
is
boarding
also,
call
everything's
for
been
Amtrak
electrified so
Northeast
far. This is
Regional Train
electrified
99 en route to
narrow
Newport
gauge
News with
line.
intermediate stops. Passengers should
And
proceed to
we
track
went
13
from
west.
right now, Torino to Core, Switzerland.
Attention,
As
please.
nice as
This is a
the
boarding call for
Milan to
Amtrak Northeast
Torino
Regional Train
scenery
164
was,
en route to
this
Boston
is
with
spectacular.
intermediate stops. Passengers should
I've
proceed to
been
track
on a lot of the
9 west.
Amtrak trains, and we have some beautiful scenery here, New York to Montreal, in California, between Denver and Salt Lake City. Excellent,
Attention,
excellent.
please. Now boarding
This
on track 1 both east and west gates is the New Jersey
probably
Transit
topped
1:14 p.m.
everything.
Northeast Corridor
It was a
line en
beautiful
route to
trip. It
Trenton.
was like a
Key
4-hour
stops
ride
at Secaucus,
through the
Newark
Alps.
Penn Station, Newark Airport,
We gained
Elizabeth,
a lot of
Linden,
elevation.
Raleigh, Metro Park, Metuchen, Edison, New
Beautiful
Brunswick,
trains,
Princeton
clean
Junction,
windows.
and
I
Hamilton,
did upgrade for
terminating at
this,
Trenton.
and
Attention,
you know, the
please.
service was
This is a
great.
boarding call for
They
Amtrak
serve
Empire Service Train
like a little
283 en
lunch.
route to Niagara Falls, New York with
Drinks you
intermediate
can
stops at
you buy
Yonkers,
stuff. They had a few
Croton
like
Harbin,
little
Poughkeepsie,
freebies,
Rhinecliff,
but
Hudson,
it was
Albany
spectacular.
Rensselaer, Schenectady,
A lot of the
Amsterdam,
trip, I'd say
Utica,
most of the trip,
Rome,
is a
Syracuse,
UNESCO, I think that's what it's
Rochester,
called, a United
Buffalo
Nations
Depew, and
heritage
Buffalo
site.
Exchange Street. Passengers should proceed to track 5 west.
And it's really, hey Brian, I see Brian from
Attention, please. This
Boston
is the
and
last
Maine
call for New Jersey
fan
Transit
is
107
here.
p.m.
That's
North
great,
Jersey
Brian.
Coast
Thank
line
you.
en route to Bay Head with intermediate
I'm
stops.
sorry, I'm
Passengers
new
should
at this.
proceed to track 4
Hi to
both
the
east and
elderlies.
west
You have to
gates.
go. You have to do it over there. I'm telling you, I
Attention,
just have to
please.
go.
Boarding on track
Yes,
1 is the New
Francis.
Jersey
Hi,
Transit
thank you,
1:14
everybody.
p.m. Northeast Corridor line en route to Trenton.
This trip,
Passengers should proceed to track
I'm
1 both
recommending it
east and
to
west
my
gates.
friends here. If you can get yourself over there, this is an amazing scenic trip. The train doesn't go fast for a lot of it because the curves are very sharp, and there's some tunnels. There's some snow sheds, some really picturesque little villages. It's got it all, you know, and it was definitely the most scenic train trip I've ever been on. And I don't know what more I can say about it. It's just like, you know, if you can get over there, do it, or do part of it. And I just want to mention this too. When I was planning this trip, I used the website Seat 61, or the guy in Seat 61. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's pretty well known. Just put in Seat 61 and gave me the options of actually that recommended like Paris to Rome. I would take 2 different routes, and the one route I was going to take going there, just briefly, it was out of service because there'd been a landslide in the Alps, and I think it's going to be open in March, fully open in March of 25. So I did take a little bit different route going to Rome, but on the way back I went the scenic route through the Alps, and this is like a must do if you're over there, and this fits into your itinerary. So we arrived in Chur, and I was calling it Chur. It's spelled Chur. It's Chur, Switzerland, and it's a very it's a very modern station, kind of like, I don't know if it's true brutalism style. No, it's like brutalism, I guess, but very, very modern. And after what I've been seeing in London, Paris, Milan, even Rome's Termini, it was just like just not my style, you know. But the trains were on time. It but of all the stations, it was probably my least favorite. Even the wayfinding was a little bit off. It, I don't know. The old stations were, even though they were more chaotic, they were almost a little easier to navigate, like finding the men's room or just little things like that. But anyways, I ended up, transferring to the last segment of the day was from Chur to Zurich. One of the things I would have changed was to try to either maybe spend the night in Chur and then do the whole next day in daylight. Just break the trip up a little bit differently. But, it was fine. So got to Zurich, and Zurich has a big station, and it was very nice. And I found the hotel, and sticking to my plan, like when I was by myself, picking a hotel really close to the train station. And it's an interesting hotel.
Attention, please.
And it was great. And in front of I thought Zurich station was beautiful. In front of the beautiful station, there is a lot of trolley wire all over the place, because it's a junction for a few of the trolley lines there, as well as trolley buses or trackless buses. And seeing them all together, I know there's sections in San Francisco that has it, streetcars and trackless trolleys together. This had it all, right in front of the Zurich station. And I posted some videos of the streetcars there. It was very cool. If you got to do if you do the trip and you go through Zurich, I would recommend it. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe even to fly to Zurich and start the trip there. Through the Alps and down to Rome. So, anyways, so I spent the night in Zurich. The next day, I boarded the train to Paris, and it was fine. Left on time. A little bit of scenery, some good scenery, because I'm in the daytime now. And then we get to Paris. We're at another station, Paris. God, I can't remember. It's so bad. But anyways, I have to go to Gare du Nord to get the Eurostar to London. God, I can't. It's terrible. I can't remember the station. Anyways, I was going to take the subway, and it would involve the change. And then I was Googling around, and I could take, it's called RER. It's kind of like the Metro, but it's more like commuter rail. And I believe I had to just take it 2 stops with no changes to get to Gare du Nord. And again, I had to line up and buy my ticket, and the ticket was still like $2.34 US, which is good. Maybe I might have 15 minutes to use the ticket machine, and I had enough time it was kind of, we were underground. It was kind of like in the subway, but it was more of a commuter train. The fact that it was a bi-level train, and I got on board with my luggage and just kind of hung out like in the vestibule because I was only going 2 stops, and it was kind of crowded. It was approaching rush hour now, I believe, and but it was fine, and I got to Gare Nord, got off the train, and went. I had a little bit of time, but I went directly to the international section and went through security and all that, and passport control, French and British passport control, and then there's a special waiting area for the Eurostar to London, and it was crowded. And I did buy something to eat, found a place to sit, it was fine. But again, it was like 1,200, 1,500 people boarding. Now, this was Sunday, so Sunday is usually a big travel day here, and I guess over there too. And I forget what time my train left. I want to say around 6. But there were 2 trains after it. So even if I wasn't able to get booked on that, I still could have got back to London that night because I had to go to the airport the next day. So arrive at St. Pancras station like 3 hours later. Very nice ride. Of course, it wasn't dark, couldn't see anything.
This is the last call for
And
Northeast Regional
the next
Train
day,
99 en route
I was
to
going to be
Newport
taking the
News with
Heathrow
intermediate
Express
stops.
out of
Passenger
Paddington,
should proceed
so
to 13
I
west.
wanted to spend the night near Paddington, so I didn't have to take the subway in the morning. I could just leave from the hotel, which I stayed right at the train station at Paddington Hilton. And so when I arrived in London at St. Pancras, I took the subway to Paddington, and it's one train without one subway train or underground without changing, and spent the night there. And the next morning, caught the Heathrow Express, which I believe runs like every 15 minutes. It takes 15 minutes to get to the airport in plenty of time, and boarded my flight back to New York. So anyways, that sums it up. I would say I might have overbooked a little bit. I didn't quite need all the upgrades, but I'm not familiar with the system, so I didn't want to take any chances. My favorite station was St. Pancras in Milan. I still haven't decided which one I like best. Favorite food definitely was, and the first station food was in St. Pancras. It's 2 really nice restaurants, beautiful hotel connected to the St. Pancras station. I ate in their dining room one night, and then another night I ate right next to the track. Beautiful restaurant. Favorite train ride was definitely Torino to Cork, Switzerland, through the Alps. Second favorite train ride was Milan to Torino. It was a great trip, great stations. 3 great stations in London, 3 big old stations in Paris I visited. Torino station was nice. The Zurich station was nice. And, of course, in Rome, too. So it was a great trip, friends. I've been here for about almost 35 minutes. It's gotten a little quiet here. There's a lot of the Amtrak trains have already boarded. And let me see if you... Just give you a little bit of an overview. You can see I got my New Haven hat on. So this is the secure. I'll give you a little
Attention, please. This is the
travel
last call
hack
for
here.
Amtrak Empire
This
Service
is
train
secured waiting
283 en
area.
route
I
to
mean, there's
Niagara
access
Falls,
to a
New
bar.
York with intermediate stops.
Let's see.
Passengers should proceed to track 5 west.
And at the other end, there's a Starbucks, and it's just kind of peaceful here. Thing is, you do need a ticket to get in, either Amtrak or Jersey Transit. And what I did was I bought a Jersey Transit ticket to Newark. It's kind of like the cheapest ticket you can get. You can get a ticket as low as like 280 something, and I'll probably use the ticket later, or you know. But I wanted to try to do this from the train station, and hopefully the Wi-Fi was pretty good, and I appreciate people dropping in, and I'm sure the majority of people will see this on. We'll watch the when it's posted, and encourage leave me comments or questions. I answer everything, and thanks so much, and want to wish everybody a great day. Take care, and God bless. Let me stop this. Did I stop?